Welcome to Cord Cutting This Week, episode number 10, the podcast where Jess and I dive into some of the biggest cord cutting stories from the past week and break them down for you and give you our thoughts on everything happening in the world of streaming right now. This is recorded July 11th, 2019, and is as accurate as we can make it right now. So I hope you enjoy the show. If you're new here, you're watching this on YouTube, I see a lot of comments that say, hey, is there an MP3? Yes, we do have an MP3 of this. I'll put a link to download it on the YouTube show notes, and we are available to subscribe through like TuneIn and Apple Podcasts and many other podcast apps out there. I even included the RSS feed link, so you can go subscribe to it with really any podcast app you may want. So check that out in the show notes if you're watching us on YouTube still. So Jess, how was your week? It looks like you're somewhere different.
I am. I was just thinking, it looks like I don't even know where, with this very plain beige wall behind me. I said a jail cell, but you know. I'm actually in a new apartment. I just moved yesterday, took the day off, and moved downtown, and I am in my new place. So hopefully next week I will have things behind me and it won't be quite so stark back here.
We moved into our new house at the beginning of March, and still I haven't even decorated my office yet. I got just enough for the camera in the office to look nice.
Exactly.
That's about it. So,
process.
When you have kids, their rooms, the playroom, all that kind of stuff takes priority before getting your area of the house set up.
Sure.
Real quick before we get into the show for today, quick announcement for everybody. So we've for quite some time now done a weekly YouTube video, also a short video with just me called Cord Cutting This Week, where I break down the biggest stories from the past week. Over the last couple of months, we've also done Cord Cutting Today, and they've kind of been redundant a little bit. Now we have the Cord Cutting This Week podcast also. So a little change. So the Cord Cutting This Week podcast is remaining unchanged. We're going to go forward with this. But the Saturday YouTube videos, the Cord Cutting This Week YouTube video, which recapped all the stories from the past week, is going away. Now we're going to still do a Saturday video, but it's going to be just another Cord Cutting Today episode, where I'll try to dive a little bit more in depth. We're going to do some things like a look forward in the Saturday one, not only talk about the stories from the past little bit, but a look forward. And I'm still going to keep a segment in there answering your Cord Cutting related questions. But I noticed it was confusing some people to have Cord Cutting This Week the podcast and Cord Cutting This Week the show, and Cord Cutting Today the show. So we're going to kind of hopefully make those names a little easier. So the Cord Cutting This Week is the podcast now. Cord Cutting Today is those daily YouTube videos going forward. Hope that makes sense. Really thank you everybody for your support on those. Our YouTube channel and even the podcast is seeing record downloads. Typically, this is the slowest time of the year for us. Summer, people are vacationing. Let's be honest, there's not a lot happening in the world of TV. I know Stranger Things and Handmaid's Tale, but fall TV hasn't started yet. Football hasn't started yet. Most people already know how to watch baseball. So huge thank you to everybody for making this one of the best weeks ever on YouTube. That's unbelievable. Podcast traffic, website traffic is great. So really appreciate your support. We do. And I hope that this slight change to our YouTube videos and our podcast works out for the best in the end. We'll love to hear what you think. So
yeah, and thank you everyone for all of the really nice comments that you've been sending us on the Facebook page and in our emails. They're really, really nice, and we really appreciate them.
Definitely. I can't believe the support. I hope we're helping you, because you're sure helping us, and we really do appreciate it. So should we get into the stories of the day?
Let's do it.
All right. Pre-Amazon Prime Day. Don't forget Amazon Prime this Monday. We're going to be wall-to-wall with the best cord-cutting Amazon Prime Day deals. But right now, Amazon has a special movie rental deal. They have a huge collection of 18 Marvel movies, including like the Avengers movies, Captain America, including Civil War, Black Panther, and more, all for rent for $1.99 each. The best part is you get 30 days to watch them. So once you pay for it, you have 30 days to start watching it. And then I think it's 48 hours after you start watching it to finish it. So if you have maybe a road trip coming up in the next couple of weeks, I know a lot of people are traveling, maybe pick up Black Panther or something to watch in the plane or on the car as you travel. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Using that link does help Cord Cutters News. It supports us, so we appreciate that. And it includes a full list of all the movies Amazon has that deal happening. Keep an eye on this, though. I expect to see more movies like this on Prime Day, because that was one of the deals Amazon kind of announced would be coming, was steep discounts on movie rentals. So keep an eye out for that. So, any movie here, Jess, you would recommend?
Oh, Black Panther, absolutely. If you haven't already seen it, I saw it in the theaters twice, and I would happily watch it 100 more times. Great movie.
Confession,
what about you?
I have not seen.
You should probably rent it. It's really good.
I was traveling when it kind of came out, and then this happened and that happened, and kids in gymnastics and schools. I kept saying, I'm going to rent that. Really, I'm going to do it. I think I have about 10 movies like that. So I think I'm going to rent that later today, and maybe.
Yeah, now's the time.
Yeah, maybe this weekend or next week. We'll see. All right, let's dive into the news of the day. All right, so we reported the rumor that AT&T's new Warner Media service would be called HBO Max last week. Now we can confirm that AT&T has announced that the new Warner Media service will be called HBO Max because let's just confuse people. And it will be delayed until the spring of 2020. So originally they said it would be coming out fourth quarter-ish of 2019. Now it's coming out in the spring of 2020. We'll see if it actually hits that. AT&T kind of has a way of, we'll just kind of keep rolling that back. Like the DVR for DIRECTV now. That add-on just it's only been 2 years since we announced it. But the interesting thing here is first of all, we just don't know a lot about it. But what we do know is it will include a smattering of content from the back catalog of Warner Media. Corner reports AT&T reportedly spent over $200 million to buy back rights for Friends from Netflix. And it will include some Cinemax and HBO content. Now, will it include all of that content? We don't know. Will it be, we know it will have Friends, we know it will have some other big name titles, but will it have Warner Media content from the 1990s? Some of those old classics. Will Babylon 5 be on there? Will they pull that back from Amazon Prime? We don't know. There's still a lot we don't know here. But of what we do know, Jess, what do you think of HBO Max?
First of all, hate the name. Shocking. I feel like every week I'm saying I hate the name of some streaming service. I don't love the HBO Max name. And I think for me, I'm not super excited about this one. And I think it's because we saw the huge Apple event where Apple talked about their streaming service. We saw the huge Disney event where Disney talked about all of their new shows coming out. And we just haven't heard enough about Warner Media and HBO Max for me to be super excited about it yet.
Yeah, let's be honest. The NBC service, even the Apple TV Plus service, we just don't know a lot about these services. So for anybody saying, oh, this is amazing or this isn't good, my thing is just like, let's wait. Let's get the confirmed price. Now, here are some rumors we know or we've heard is the AT&T's HBO Max service will be $16 or $17 a month. Will reportedly, though I'm starting to question this a little bit, include HBO content and Cinemax content at that price point, plus a collection of originals and the back catalog content. Now, we can confirm that there will be some back catalog content. We just don't know how much. There will be some Cinemax and HBO content. But will this be new stuff? The next day after it airs, the day of it airs? Or is this like stuff, is this like the back catalog of Game of Thrones, which is no longer on? Or maybe Sopranos from HBO will be on it, but not maybe the newer stuff? We just don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would just like more information before I can make my assessment.
But, it always raises the question about rushing out to judgment on this kind of stuff. Remember when everybody said that Disney's, Disney Plus or whatever they're calling it, remember how people were reporting, oh, that's going to cost you like $30 a month.
Yeah, yes.
And then it comes out at $6.99.
Right.
So I guess pump the brakes on any doomsday. I know AT&T is not our favorite cord-cutting friendly company out there, though they've at times tried, so we'll see. But okay, on the spot, how likely do you think it is that HBO Max would be a good cord cutting service? Not successful, not any of that, but just like, hey, this is something cord cutters will really want.
Yeah, solid choice. I think that they're smart for delaying the launch date. Because I feel like if they're not ready, then they should really be taking their time and making a really good service. I would love to think that that's why they pushed back their launch date, or I guess they haven't ever officially announced a launch date. But I would like to think that they're really trying to focus on making this a really good streaming service. So I would like to say that I have high hopes for it being a solid service that people will like. I don't know how successful it will be, but I think that's only because they have a lot of competition.
Yeah, honestly, if it's half of what they say it is, if it is $16 or $17, if you're going to pay $1 or $2 more than HBO is right now, and then you get all this back media content from Warner Media, which includes Friends, we know that for sure.
Yeah.
That may actually not be a bad option for cord cutters. The downside is we just don't know enough. I mean, for all we know, it could be a $10 service. It could be a $50 service. I really don't think it's going to be $50. I'll be shocked if it's over $20. But
yeah,
we just don't know.
They really just are in a good price point, and they really take their time to make it a very user-friendly service with great content. I think that they'll be okay.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I prefer to see them take their time. We kind of reported, what was it, a month ago now, that the head of the program was replaced. The guy who was in charge of like the VRV and Crunchyroll at AT&T is now taking this over. And it kind of sounded like they were coming in with a clean broom and kind of being like, whatever they were looking at wasn't coming together. So let's kind of rethink all this and look at it again.
Yeah, and that's giving me some hope. I feel like they want to make a great service. They're not just trying to push something out because everybody else is.
Yeah. So that could explain the delay to spring 2020.
Sure. I
don't know. We'll wait and see. Well, there is kind of a related story to this that you have, Jess.
Yeah, so let's talk more about AT&T. They have promised that after this HBO Max service launches, they will leave HBO Now and HBO Go alone. So we've gotten a lot of questions about this on the Facebook page lately. People who are currently subscribed to HBO Now and HBO Go are concerned that they will lose their service or that they'll be forced to use HBO Max. And AT&T has said, no, that is not the case. They also specifically pointed out that current HBO Now and HBO Go subscribers will not automatically be moved into this HBO Max. It'll be its own separate thing. They want to distinguish between the different services. So they want to make it known that, yes, HBO Now, HBO Go will still exist. HBO Max will be its own separate thing.
HBO Go still existing makes perfect sense because that's for cable subscribers mostly.
Right.
I think you can use the Amazon Prime channel through HBO Go. Some live TV services through it too. But HBO Now confuses me with HBO Max, and this has confusion all over it.
Yes.
If it's true that HBO Now will be $15 and HBO Max will be $16, $17, that has confusion all over it. That has people sign up for HBO Now, think they're getting HBO Max, and so on. It doesn't make sense to me to have two services with similar names, very different, with only a couple dollars difference between them.
I agree. And this is another reason that I hated the name so much. People are going to get confused. They already are.
Now, what if HBO Now drops down to $10 a month, HBO Max is $6 a month, and it's like, hey, for an extra $6 a month, you get all of this additional Warner Media content, back catalog, original programming, or you can get just HBO for $10 a month. That, to me, seems like a much better or a very possible scenario here, and much better idea for them.
Potentially open or offer a package deal where you would get both of them. They could be kind of interlinked, so it would make it easier to switch from one to the other. People might be into that.
Nightmare scenario here. HBO Max does not include any current HBO Go or HBO or Cinemax programming. It's all back catalog. And it costs $16. Plus, if you want current HBO content, that's another $15 on top of that.
Yeah.
That is AT&T being dumb. That's like my ultimate HBO worst case scenario for AT&T to do.
Yeah, AT&T, if you're listening, please do not do that.
Yeah. I've seen reports that HBO, though, is seeing a huge drop in subscribers. And according to analysts, they say HBO Max's goal is to keep people from using AT&T as a seasonal product. Keep people from saying, hey, Game of Thrones is on, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones, and when Game of Thrones is done, I'm dropping it. Or Silicon Valley's on, I'm going to watch it for that, and then drop it. And that's been a big issue with these premium channels for a long time, but it's a much bigger issue now because it's so easy to add and drop HBO now. You don't have to call the cable company and sit on hold for 45 minutes to do it. So I would not be surprised to see HBO Max legitimately include all the current content. If I had to say, if I was a businessman and they came in, I'm kind of a business guy, I guess. They hired me to come into HBO or in AT&T and say, hey, this is how we're going to do HBO Max. I would say, hey, HBO Now, $10, HBO Max, $16, $17, and with all the additional content, and HBO Max will have everything that HBO Now has. That's how I would do it.
Yeah.
Now,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's a prediction. I have no inside information on that.
Yeah, they aren't telling us anything, unfortunately.
Yeah.
My question for you, though, do you think that this will have any impact on streaming services like Hulu and Sling and whatever else offering HBO as a premium add-on?
No, because they still want, HBO still wants to be widely distributed. For all the talk, remember they promised that they would keep their content widely distributed there. So on AT&T's part, they probably still want to do it. The problem is, and we kind of seen this with Sling TV and Dish, AT&T wants extra money for HBO. They wanted Dish to promise a baseline minimum number of subscribers plus pay more per subscriber, which is something new they haven't done before. And Dish kind of said, hey, for the same price our customers can go to HBO Now, why should we pay HBO more money and guarantee a minimum number of subscribers even if we really don't have that many people paying for HBO? So Dish just kind of said, hey, get HBO Now. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do that with Hulu and others, where they start saying, hey, guess what, folks? You want HBO content? HBO Max, HBO Now, go get that. And we'll be here for everything else. But we're not going to lose money, or we're not going to take that hit on our end just because AT&T wants more money from us.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm very interested. I'll have to talk to some people I know. I haven't heard a lot about minimum guarantees for these kind of add-ons. I've heard of that, I think, with like ESPN and that kind of stuff, maybe where there be a minimum guarantee of subscribers. But HBO is a lot different than like an ESPN channel. So we'll wait and see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised either way what will happen here. I'm sure Hulu would love to keep HBO though. If they could keep their current terms, why not, right? It's extra profit for them.
Yeah, and it's not hurting them at all to have it available.
Yeah. So anything you want to add on this story?
No, I'm just I'm interested in hearing more about it. I would love some more information. So if anyone at AT&T wants to email us and give us a heads up on anything.
Yeah. And we'll love to know what our readers think. Leave us a comment if you found us on our Core Cars News page that we post this all the time, or you've watched this on YouTube. Leave us a comment. We do read those.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's continue on the next story. Roku is expanding its lead over the Fire TV and Apple TV in the United States. Now, this has been something I've talked about a lot, how in the United States with our readers, Roku just has this massive lead. Now, the Fire TV has been closing that gap a little bit, but Roku has been maintaining its market share. It seems more like Fire TV is eating up Android TV and Apple TV market share, not so much into Roku. Now we have a report that basically supports that Roku is actually in the first quarter of 2019 expanding its lead over all that. With Apple, like if I remember right, Apple was in last place, correct, Jess?
I think it was Apple, but let me look at the story one more time. As soon as you said that, I thought...
Here we go. Apple is in last place with below 10% market share. Of course, the Fire TV is the next biggest dedicated streaming box, but it lags slightly behind the Xbox and the PlayStation. And which one is it here? Tizen, which is a smart TV brand, has actually been seeing steady growth. Who is Tizen? Is that LG or is that Samsung?
I think it's Samsung, but I'm not 100%.
And that makes sense because Samsung is one of the larger TV sellers, and especially in the high-end market. When you get in the high-end market, I would expect people to be buying those to use the streaming apps on there.
Yeah.
So I believe this story. We've been surveying our readers every quarter for several years now, and every quarter, year after year, in the United States, Roku just dominates. Now, Roku is not available worldwide, though. It is available in many countries around the world, but Apple TV and Fire TV are in different countries where they're not. Now, Amazon claims to have more accounts than Roku does. Accounts are kind of one of those weird things because one, Roku could represent multiple accounts. And with Amazon cracking down on those, my theory on this is Amazon, about a year, 2 years ago, cracked down all the resellers that would buy a Fire TV stick, put a bunch of piracy software, and then sell it as a jailbroken Fire TV stick, which is kind of silly. It's not jailbroken. They just took the time to install a bunch of piracy apps and then sell it for 4 or 5 times the cost of the device. But they cracked down on that. So if you had too many Fire TV devices, they shut down your account because that's how they were identifying people doing this. So now all these people are creating multiple accounts. I only put in 2 or 3 Fire TVs on each one. So I would actually, we had a guy contact us and offer. I've had multiple people do this. All the like Sling TV promo codes you get from those, offer to sell me all those. They're like, "Hey, we'll sell you all these promo codes." I'm like, "I'm good." We've had a few people do that. So I'm interested to see, how many does this really represent? Because I know with Roku, you can have up to 20 some devices per Roku account. But it doesn't, past that, it doesn't surprise me at all. I'm very interested to see what this looks like in a year. Does Roku maintain this? Can Amazon continue to pull away? Is this going to turn into a Roku, Fire TV, and Smart TV kind of race, where Android TV, at least in the residential service, is left behind? I know Android TV is very popular with cable companies, and their growth has been mostly with the commercial cable box markets as a replacement for cable boxes. But Apple TV, I haven't heard much about their growth, and this kind of reinforces what I've heard is they're, if anything, maybe losing ground again. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. We just haven't been hearing much about Apple TV. I do think that it makes sense that Roku is so popular, and I was just thinking about this. It's the fact that you can get exactly what you want. If you're looking for just a very cheap and basic device, you can find that. If you're looking for something more powerful, something to kind of anchor your cord cutting setup, you can get the Ultra with all of the features and everything. I just think that's very user friendly, and I say this all the time. I just think that Roku is so easy to use and people just love it so much that I'm not surprised to see it growing, and I think it'll just keep growing.
Now, here's the question for you. We both understand that Roku is number one. Does it surprise you that Roku, according to this report and according to our own studies, accounts for over half of all streaming devices in the United States, including the counts over 50 million, but according to our readers, over half of all cord cutting streaming? Does that surprise you at all?
It doesn't, only because I feel like I'm always on our Facebook page. I'm always on the tech support page on Facebook, and people are constantly talking about Roku. They're recommending it to other people. They're saying that they use it, that they give it to other people, that they give it as gifts and everything. People just love the Roku so much that I am not surprised to hear that at all.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either, to be honest with you. According to this, Roku has like 54, well, they predict by the end of this year be around 53, 54 million platforms out there in the United States. And according to this report, in the first quarter of 2018, it became the number one streaming device, surpassing PlayStation View or PlayStation, excuse me. See, they got to change that name. They got to change it. And the Microsoft Xbox line, which is all of them clumped together. So PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One combined there. And again, this is all the Rokus, all the Fire TV models combined. Two things that surprised me about the Apple TV. Nintendo, more popular than the Apple TV. So the Wii's, Wii U. Actually, I think the Wii no longer does Netflix streaming and stuff. I think they canceled that when they kind of discontinued the web store. But WebOS also more popular than the Apple TV for streaming.
Interesting. That's one that we just never really hear about.
Yeah, so I am very interested. And according to this, Google, which doesn't break out Android TV, but I'm assuming that's Android TV, is more popular than Apple TV.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I'm surprised to see how popular the gaming consoles are, too. I think it makes sense if you already have one and you can use it. Why not?
For the Android TV, I wonder how much of that is Sony TVs running Android TV, and quite a few other brands running Android TV in the United States.
Yeah.
How much does that have to do with it? Now, Android TV is very popular on smart TVs outside the U.S., But Roku's been kind of eating into that. They've been bringing the Roku TV OS to other countries, recently launched in Mexico and other places. And I think it's launching in Europe. Don't count me on that. I have to look at that. And it's launching in Canada. So Roku, I wonder how much of this growth comes from Roku TVs clawing back the market share from Android TV, because it does seem like when TV manufacturers have the option between Roku and Android TV in a market, they've been going with Roku more than Android TV.
Yep.
So I don't know. Leave us a comment. What device are you using? And what do you think of these reports? And I get it. There are hardcore Apple TV fans that are going to be like, this study is junk. And I get that. But this isn't us. It was also reported by Engadget. So don't shoot the messenger. We're just reporting on the numbers.
I put lots of links in every post I write. You can look at all of the research.
I really think Apple TV is great. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the remote, but Apple TV is great. I think they have one major problem, though. I can buy 3 or 4 Rokus for the price of an Apple TV.
Yes, agreed.
I mean, a Roku Stick Plus at 50-some bucks right now is a very good streaming player. And if all I'm doing is streaming Netflix, the difference between an Apple TV streaming Netflix and a Roku Stick Plus streaming Netflix really isn't that much to justify, I think, an additional 100-some bucks.
I agree. And my thought was, whenever you cut the cord, most of us are doing that because we want to save money every month. And whenever you're looking at savings, the last thing you want to do is put down hundreds of dollars for a device, let alone the streaming services that you'll load on that device. I think people were like, oh, a Roku, 30 bucks, perfect.
And honestly, I mean, a 4K HDR picture, once the Netflix stream gets going, looks the same on Roku as it does on an Apple. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is that price point. And I wouldn't mind them getting a new Apple TV remote that doesn't have the touchpad. Cool.
Agreed.
But it definitely causes a lot of problems to a lot of our readers. I hear from a lot of people who are like, I just can't get this. And Apple kind of supported that when they were like, oh, we're going to support third-party remotes. Remember that? Was it last year? Mm-hmm. Nothing really came of that, though. We never really saw the third-party official Apple TV remote that Apple was backing. So we'll see what happens. We do have
a post about alternatives. If you love your Apple TV and just really hate the remote like me, we have alternatives for you.
There you go. Well, let's keep on going. I think this is your story now, Jess.
It is, yeah. So we're back to AT&T. Their new DIRECTV streaming service will reportedly be called AT&T TV. A lot of letters. And the soft launch for that is set to be August of this year, so coming up pretty soon. So the story here is that they've been working on this for a while. We've been hearing about this new DIRECTV streaming service. And they wanted a service that was separate from DIRECTV Now as an alternative to DIRECTV. And from reading the post, the thought behind this was kind of they would save money by not having to send somebody to your house to install all of this stuff. The problem, in my opinion, is that people will still have to go to a store and buy this box, bring it back, install it themselves to get all this, because they didn't just want an app, they wanted the box as well. So you have to buy the box, get the service, get it all hooked up.
Yeah, and this all comes from something a reader sent to us. I guess there's a website called The Layoff, which I guess where people who are insiders at different companies can go post content there. And
that's what I like.
Yeah, it's a training slide. Now, I don't condone this. But it's public information sitting there on the web now. And in the training slide, there's a few interesting things about this. One, that AT&T Uverse TV will stop being sold when this AT&T TV service comes out, which isn't a surprise because, as far back as 2016, it was started to be reported that Uverse was being downplayed in favor of promoting DirecTV. And in 2017, Yahoo ran a story back when Yahoo was a big... Remember when Yahoo was a great original news source? I think they still do some news. But they reported that AT&T intended to shut down Uverse TV. Now, since that story went live, they did rebrand Uverse Phone to AT&T Phone and Uverse Internet to AT&T Internet. But they kept the Uverse TV brand. So it doesn't surprise me that also sounds in line with what sources I have heard from inside AT&T have told us. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't surprise me that But according to this list, let me see. 3 test markets would be St. Louis, Orange/Riverside, California, Nevada, and West Palm, Florida, with the initial test markets, with Springfield, Missouri, I believe that star is. I believe there's Springfield, Missouri, but it almost looks like that star is sitting in Arkansas, and I don't think there's a Springfield, Arkansas up there. Topeka, Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, Odessa, Corpus Christi. Yeah, it must be, because the Corpus Christi star is way inland in Texas. So whoever put these stars on this map is just doesn't know where they're talking about.
I think they just wanted it to look nice, and it did.
And like El Paso, Texas is actually like was that Utah? The star for it?
Yeah. Yep.
So those are the other markets that will launch early. And then isn't it national launch in the fall? Or the fourth quarter?
The soft launch for this one?
The national, when it begins.
Oh, got it. Let me go back through the story and find.
Fourth quarter.
I was looking at.
So next month will be the soft launch in those 3 markets, and then the full launch in the fourth quarter.
Right.
This makes a lot of sense to me. And it looks like in the initial testing, in the early phases, they'll still drive a truck out to your home and set it up. But they intend to offer this service where you'll walk into an AT&T store, buy your box at a affordable price, according to AT&T's mobility president. Now, a CEO or president's idea of affordable could be $300. We don't know.
True.
My idea of affordable will be $50 or less. My guess, looking at the specs in that box, though, is they will sell this for more than $50. Wouldn't be surprised if it's a $100 box, to be honest with you. You take that home, you plug it in, and you have AT&T's TV service.
So what do you think about the idea of having the customers, making them buy the box to get the service? Do you think that's going to work, or should they have stuck with an app?
An app on Roku, Apple TV, etc. is great. The app on Roku TV, Apple TV loses them some control, but most apps, I mean, you look at Netflix, you look at Hulu, you look at even like Sling TV and YouTube TV, have successfully made stable apps on, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV are fairly closed environments with it. Having a box, though, does allow them to do some cool things, like have a traditional cable remote with channel numbers on it and stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And I have both the first and second generation remote for this box, and actually the second generation remote's a huge improvement with a lot of features, and it's very much of a cable-esque experience. There are a lot of people out there who want to pick up a box, take it to home, and have that traditional cable experience, but with a cheaper cord-cutting price. So this does not surprise me at all. I do see a market for this, and I do think it'll be successful. My question will be will this service, when you look at that map, the states highlighted are states where AT&T's internet service are currently. Are they going to be offering this service nationally? Sounds like it. So will I be able to use this on Spectrum, or would I need AT&T internet to use this? That's my only question. We'll see.
Yeah.
So what about you? Would you buy a box if it gave you a cable-esque experience?
I don't think I would at this point. I'm just so used to using my Roku, my Amazon Fire TV, and having my apps and getting that experience. I just don't think that, for me, I would want to go back to something that was more like cable, but I do see the appeal, and I think it will be wildly popular with people who like cable TV but don't like the price tag.
Yeah. So I can definitely see the pluses for this. And everything in these slides do kind of line up. Now, it talks about the fourth quarter of 2019 to roll out, but it also talks about a 2020 launch for IPTV equipment planning for 2020. So it seems like this is going to be a multi-phase rollout. We'll wait and see what happens with this multi-phase testing. So fingers crossed it actually works the way they want it to. Well, we'll see. I don't think this is necessarily a bad idea. Yes, launching satellites is very expensive. Yes, sending somebody to your home is very expensive. And in 2019, do we really need it? Or can people connect this to their internet and go from there? We'll wait and see.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear more about this one and see what their plans are.
So leave us a comment. What do you think of this service? Let us know, and I'll love to hear from you. Any final thoughts you have before we move on?
No, I think this one kind of confused me a little bit just because I wasn't sure what they were trying to do with buying the box, setting up the box, but I understand now that it's more of a cable experience, but without the price tag, so now it's making a little more sense to me.
Yeah, because for now, DIRECTV Now is not going away, and eventually it's just going to be rebranded into HBO Max, according to the president of AT&T Entertainment and Mobility. So I would say it's reasonable to expect that this is more targeted at DIRECTV cable subscribers than it is directed towards cord cutters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A couple questions I have. Will there be a contract? That, if it's not, that's definitely a huge change.
Yes.
But if it is, it's definitely just a cable service streaming online, which is basically what Uverse TV's been this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but let's let me know what you think, and let's move along. AT&T, a lot of AT&T news, but a little over a week ago now, we learned that they donated, almost 2 weeks ago now, they donated $500,000 to Locast, and everybody said, why? Why is AT&T donating $500,000 to a free service that offers locals in a handful of markets across the United States? Well, it kind of makes a lot more sense now. AT&T is in the middle of a battle with Nexstar, and Nexstar is a huge owner of ABC, NBC, Fox, whatever affiliates across the United States. It's been, as of today, a full week since Nexstar channels went dark on AT&T's DIRECTV Now, DIRECTV, and Uverse TV. And now it makes sense. AT&T added Locast, the Uverse, and DIRECTV boxes. They donated $500,000. And in some of the larger markets where Nexstar went dark, they can just now say, hey, use Locast. Mm-hmm. So this seems more like AT&T trying to get leverage over local affiliates from, let's be honest, some of the most expensive channels on your TV are the ones you can also get for free with an antenna. Mm-hmm. Things like this aren't unusual. In the past, cable companies, Dish was really big into this, would pass out antennas, right? It would be a blackout in the market, and it'd be like, hey, come to the TV station, and we'll give you an antenna, or we'll sell you a cheap antenna. And so, not surprised at all to see this moving from, hey, we can now use technology to do the same thing without having to buy all these antennas. Right. I wonder if it was cheaper for them to just give Locast $500,000 than buy thousands of antennas across the United States and be passing these out. So I find it interesting that it's basically an old cable negotiation trick in a new age. So what do you think, Jess? Does it make sense to you now?
It does. And whenever you posted this, I saw it first on Twitter. You posted to the Cord Cutters News Twitter account that this happened, and I retweeted it and said, this is going to be a great story for the podcast whenever we find out what's going on here. And I think it is. I think it's really funny that this was their sort of power play against Nexstar to say, we really don't need you. We're just going to throw a ton of money at this company who can do what you're doing. So now what? And so I'm really interested to see how this all kind of plays out. But people are really upset about losing their local channels. People have been all over social media, just kind of going crazy. So I'm interested to see how this all works out.
Well, that works. I'm interested to see what happens with this. Now, as far as the cost of locals, according to the president of Sling TV, he predicted by the end of this year the cost of locals will be $16 a month of your TV bill. And you can really see it when you look at like DIRECTV Now, YouTube TV, etc., $40 to $50 versus Sling TV at $25 without locals. You can see the difference right there. Dropping the locals allows Sling TV to be cheaper.
Yes.
And I honestly think that there's a market for the ability to say, hey, if you have an antenna and if you get locals, we want to be the service for you. Why pay for what you're getting for free already?
Sure.
The question is, how long can DIRECTV keep their customers? Because a lot of customers are paying a premium price to Uverse TV and DIRECTV. And even DIRECTV Now is a premium price service now in the cord cutting world. How long until they say, hey, if you don't have my locals, I'm going somewhere that does have it?
Yeah, I think that's huge for a lot of people. People love their locals, and of course they do. So, yeah, I'm interested to see if people are willing to have a different service like Locast specifically to get those local channels.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Any last notes before we move on?
No.
All right.
Not fun, but yeah, I knew this was going to be a good story for the podcast, and I was really interested to see what was happening there.
All right, next story.
Yeah, let's talk about YouTube TV. It is back on Fire TV sticks. It is not yet on Fire TV boxes unless something has changed since yesterday when I was not at work. But now you can add your YouTube app to your Fire TV sticks or your Fire TV Edition smart TVs. And Amazon says that they'll be adding YouTube TV and YouTube Kids later this year. So right now it's only the YouTube app to watch YouTube videos. It's not YouTube TV, which I think is important. A couple of people were questioning that. So this means that you can now use your Alexa voice commands to control your YouTube app. And it's really easy to find. Actually, as soon as I turned on my Amazon Fire TV smart TV, it was right there, front and center. So I just clicked on it and got the app, and it's been working perfectly for me.
Yeah, a few notes. It works in the Cube, which a lot of people say, well, isn't that a box? Technically, Amazon kind of considers the Fire TV Cube its own device, kind of separate from everything. But those original first, second, and I think even third gen Fire TV boxes are not supported. The first gen Fire TV stick is not supported. And the Fire TV pendant is not supported at this time. Now, all those they say will be coming in the weeks to months to come. And the Fire TV Cube does support it. YouTube TV, YouTube Kids is still coming later this year. Found it a little interesting that they got YouTube back, but not YouTube TV, not YouTube Kids so far.
Agreed.
But of course, they could almost just relaunch the old app, minor update, where YouTube Kids and YouTube TV is a brand new app they have to make from scratch. I know it's based on Android, but to really take advantage of things like the Alexa voice controls and all that kind of stuff, they do need to go in there and add additional code and kind of tweak it and make it different. So hopefully that doesn't take too long. We'll have to wait and see what happens though with the future of YouTube on the Fire TV. One thing that kind of got brushed under a little bit was the fact that Android TV added and Chromecast added Amazon Prime Video. Now, I don't think there's an Amazon Prime Video app for all of them yet. I don't think that rolled out. But at the time we wrote the story, Chromecast support had returned to the mobile version of Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, so Amazon's doing some big things, and I'm happy about it. I really like the Amazon Fire TV, and not having YouTube was really bringing them down, I think.
Oh, yeah. And it was, I think, lack of YouTube TV even more than YouTube, to be honest, because you had workarounds for YouTube, and there's been workarounds for YouTube TV. There's been ported versions of the Android app for months now. There's another one I've seen floating around recently where they kind of port it and you have to sideload it and do different things. And it works to a point, not quite as well as a dedicated pre-built app. But I think the lack of YouTube TV was really big because YouTube TV is seeing strong growth.
Yep.
Adding YouTube Kids, because Roku and Apple TV do not have YouTube Kids, will be a huge selling point. I fully intend to remove YouTube from my daughter's Roku TV and plug a Fire TV in with YouTube Kids. Much better than have to be like, I have to sit next to you and watch YouTube with you.
Yes, agreed.
We do have a video if you want to see it in action. I have a link in the story down below. I have a video of us demoing it. It's basically the Roku and Android TV YouTube app. It's almost exactly the same. The layout's the same. You're going to be right at home if you used it before.
Yeah, it's been working really well for me. I was watching YouTube videos this morning, and it was working perfectly.
And I mean, let's be honest. The web browser was a nice workaround when there was no other option.
Yeah,
having an app is just so much better. Things load quicker. Browsing is the main thing I notice the difference. It's just so much faster to browse. The experience is so much better.
Mm-hmm. I'm really happy about this. I'm excited for them to get YouTube TV back, though. I think that's going to be huge, and people will be very, very excited about that.
Yeah, sometime this year, and the first-gen Fire TV stick and the other Fire TV boxes that don't have it, along with the pendant, should be added sometime in the next couple months, they say. Probably rolling out slowly. So if you ever notice it appears on one of these devices, did they add it? Please go to corecarsnews.com, hit that Contact Us button, send us an email, so that we can be aware of that, because some of these tips come from you first. You, the readers, are the people who often send us these great tips. So please send us an email. Let us know. We would really appreciate it. All right, last story of the day. T-Mobile is continuing to roll out their home internet pilot service as they prepare to launch their 5G home internet service. So back in March, T-Mobile announced that they were going to start testing home internet using their LTE network. The primary focus here seems to be to test out the equipment and the customer experience, the accounts, the customer service, etc., through testing on the LTE network in preparation for 5G. Now, the LTE network is a little bit more restricted. It wasn't built for home internet, so they're capping this at 500,000 homes. The speed is capped at 50 down, but there's no data cap on it for $50 a month. T-Mobile is very quick to say when this goes to 5G, the speeds will be a lot faster, and we won't be capping the number of households to get this. Now, that was announced in March. It started rolling out to some readers back in March. We had some readers get it back then. This week, we got emails from readers who said, hey, guess what? I got an invite to test it out. It seems that T-Mobile is rolling it out, and T-Mobile went and confirmed that. Yes, they haven't hit the 50,000. They're going to continue in the months to come, rolling this out to more people. So keep an eye on your email. Keep an eye on your mail to see if you ever get an invite to this. So would you use this, Jess? What do you think of $50 a month for this service?
I think it's great. I've always said the more options, the better. Having more to choose from is never a bad thing. And $50 is a pretty good deal, I would say, especially for unlimited. I think that's really good.
And let's be honest, so all you're doing is streaming Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, etc. 50 down is really all you need. I cut the cord with 10 down, later upgraded 20. I thought this was amazing. Yeah, so times change, speeds, perception change. But I would expect when this goes to 5G that we would be seeing the 300 some down be the 5G version.
Yeah, and we know that right now my internet is very slow this morning, so I would love to have it be faster. This would be a great option.
There you go. But yeah, so keep your eye on it. If you have this T-Mobile internet service, leave us a comment. I'd love to hear your review of it once you used it. Now, this is LTE. LTE is not meant for home internet. They're kind of using this, again, as a pilot program so they can test out the hardware, they can test out the customer experience, and make improvements before the 5G launch. So just keep that in mind. All right, Jess, you got some questions from the group for me. What do we have today?
So some of you have been asking questions, and I have, instead of making a dedicated post asking for your questions, I just went through the group this week and picked a few that looked interesting. So the first question is, a reader has a Roku Premiere currently. They need another device for another room in their home, and they're wondering if the Roku Ultra is worth the extra money. What do you think?
Compared to the Roku Premiere, definitely. The Roku Ultra is a huge step up, but so will be the Roku Stick Plus, because you both still have the 4K, but they add HDR, which is a big difference in picture quality. They also add the AC Wi-Fi network, where the Roku Premiere is an in-network Wi-Fi, which is the previous standard, but it's actually surprisingly good quality streaming. I've had no problems with our Premiere. You can see I got them sitting kind of behind me over here. And it's actually surprisingly good device. But if you are looking to upgrade, I would say yes, go ahead. If you have the money, get a Stick Plus, get a Roku Ultra. You'll get far better Wi-Fi reception, especially if you're in kind of a weaker Wi-Fi area. Far faster processor, and it will set you up to be more longer lifespan. It's the Roku Ultra, the Roku Stick will probably be supported a lot longer than the Roku Premiere because the processor is faster, the Wi-Fi is faster. So as more powerful, bigger apps come out, they'll be all set.
You also mentioned faster Wi-Fi, but the Ultra is the only one, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can connect with Ethernet. Would it make any sense to do that?
Yeah, if you have the ability to run Ethernet to it, the Ultra will be a great option to do that because it removes any potential issues of weak Wi-Fi causing buffering.
All right. So yes, we are recommending if you are already shopping for a second device anyway, you might as well pay the extra and get the Ultra.
All right.
So next question. So this reader was asking, is there any TV streaming service that allows you to watch the locals of the market that you are in while traveling? So if I was using my streaming service here in Cleveland but traveled to Dallas where you are, would I be able to watch the local channels in Dallas on any of the streaming services?
Doesn't I want to say YouTube TV does this to a limited extent. Don't count me on that, but I do believe YouTube TV does that. Or maybe it just switches you to another. Now,
yeah, we're seeing some comments on this question where some people were saying YouTube TV will allow you to do that.
Yeah. The other option would be, if YouTube TV is not what you want, get an antenna, get something like a Fire TV Recast, HD Home Run, a Tableau DVR, where you can connect your tablet, connect your laptop to them, travel and watch it on the road wherever you may be. Those are great options to also consider. So I would say YouTube TV, if I remember correct, somebody's going to say, nope, it doesn't work that way, but I think it does. And then, of course, if you have an antenna, which I always recommend, at least as a backup, you can also connect a device like a Tableau DVR, etc., to watch it outside your home.
All right. And then one more question. This person is a very recent cord cutter, and they are struggling to find the right streaming service because everyone in the family likes one show on a different streaming service, and they don't want to spend the money on all of them, but everybody wants to watch their show. What do you recommend?
Buy DVDs, buy season passes. For example, even Netflix original shows are now coming out on DVDs, and Amazon Prime Video, iTunes. You can buy Stranger Things season 1 and 2. You can buy Lost in Space and more on DVD. Can you buy The Handmaid's Tale on DVD? I don't know about that.
I didn't think that one was available yet, but I'm not sure. I will look into it and post about it later.
My recommendation is, if you can, just buy a season pass. Even Star Trek Discovery, the CBS show, is now streaming on Amazon, and I believe they even have a DVD of it. I know it's streaming for sure on like iTunes and Amazon for like $19 for season 1, I think. So instead of paying, if you think about especially with like Star Trek Discovery, which is an every month show, or it's come multiple months it comes out, and now you're paying, $10 for the commercial free month after month after month. You're actually paying more than you would if you just bought it and owned it. Now, the downside is that you have to wait for the entire season to end and then watch it. But increasingly, I'm finding cord cutters are doing that kind of behavior for network shows. It's like, hey, yeah, that's great that this TV show is on, but I hate the weekly release schedule. I'm going to wait and binge watch it all at once when the DVD or the Amazon Prime season purchase is available. So that'll be my recommendation. And avoid the temptation to pay for a service just because there's one show when you can get a season pass. I mean, if it's a show like on Bravo, you can buy a season pass, and the next morning after it airs, it's on Bravo, or it's on iTunes, it's on Amazon, etc. So keep that in mind.
Yep, I agree completely. It was funny too. A lot of people in the comments were saying, tell everyone to just suck it up and that they cannot watch that show. But that's not true, and that's not the solution that we're looking for here. Buy a season pass.
Yeah, season pass will get for most people. Now, not everybody, I do understand that. But for the vast majority of people, a season pass, I think, is the solution for this kind of stuff. All right, so Jess, let's tell everybody what we're watching this week. So what are you watching?
Well, in honor of the YouTube app coming back to Fire TV.
I have lost your audio for some reason.
Oh, no. Come back. Can you hear me?
Uh-oh. Did we lose Jess? I can say something again, Jess.
Can you hear me?
I cannot. Text me what you are in Skype. Send me a text what your recommendation was, and I'll read it to everybody real quick. Okay. And while she does that, I was going through a recommendation that there is a ton of great content on Netflix right now that may not be there in the future. And Parks and Recreations is one of them. It's an NBC show. Sometime in late 2020, NBC is going to be coming out with their own service. And we know The Office is leaving. Maybe Parks and Recreation will also be leaving them there. So, gonna wait for Jess to send me her recommendation. Are you sending it? Mm-hmm. Oh, here we go. I got the text message. A YouTube channel is what she wants to recommend. It's actually one I've heard before, Screen Junkies, which is a great YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out in the past, check out Screen Junkies. They do a ton of things on movies and all kinds of videos. Let me pull up the channel right here, because it's been a little while since I watched their videos, and I'll kind of give you an idea. They are best known for their honest trailers, which I absolutely find hilarious. But they're all known for a lot of other content too, where they take a movie and they make a trailer that's like, hey, let's be honest about it. They even have a Stranger Things. I think they even have a Stranger Things honest trailers there. They also have a Stranger Things recap. They do recaps of popular shows, talks about movies and TV shows, and more. Here's one of the best ones: honest trailers for Waterworld, honest trailers for Captain Marvel. So if you want to get into that, check that out there. And yeah, we hope you enjoy that. Let me know if you have any particular recommendations for YouTube channels. Leave them in the comments down below. We'll love to hear from you. Well, that's it for today. We'll figure out what happened to Jess's audio later. We don't know. I can still see her on Skype. So sorry, everybody. You can see her, but you can't hear her for some reason. So you all have a fantastic day. I will see you next week for our Core Cutting This Week Q&A. Or on Wednesdays, and the podcast every Saturday or every Thursday, excuse me. My brain just completely died there. So have a great week. I'll see you tomorrow for the Core Cutting Today show. Take care, everybody.